Hi, everyone. Welcome to A New View. I'm Juji, and I'm here with Shira, Lee, and Kim. We are four friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. Words are powerful. We can probably all recall a time when somebody said something that had a profound impact on our lives. Today, we're each going to share that powerful moment of transformation. Ladies, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Wow. So there are many, many words and phrases that have really made a major impact on my life and the way that I operate and do things. Although I have to say, one of the most powerful uh, set of words came at a time in my life where there was a lot of turmoil. There was a lot of turmoil in my marriage, in my life. I think I was probably depressed and just not happy in general. And I went to a workshop. This was about 12, 13 years ago. And there were a lot of great, profound things about this workshop. But one of the things that was said to me, because I had addressed certain issues, is that the moment that you take full responsibility for everything that happens in your life is the moment that you have the power to change everything in your life. Now, so I heard these words and I remember questioning them and our transformational coach. And I'm like, but what do you mean? How can that be? How is it that I'm responsible when this one is doing that and that one is saying that? And I really kind of resisted it for a while, but I tried to absorb it and I tried to understand it. I worked at that, but I don't know if I was like I was a late bloomer to it or it just took a while to digest. Um, but I was told this over and over again because I remember coming back in like the next day and saying, how is it, just how is it that I'm responsible for this? Seriously, I was not taking it. And anyway, those words turned out to be some of the most powerful words. And I live by them now. I live by these words. And not only did those words transform me, they've caused other words and other things to transform me and make an impact on my life as well. Because like once I got it, I started to ask myself questions like, so who do I get to be now? And how do I do it? And this was truly the beginning of my journey on my own personal development, but empowerment really for me, empowerment, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, just, you know, living a better life for myself and for those surrounding me. And it's an ongoing journey, but these were probably the most powerful words that started me on this journey.
Can I just say that, you know, so many people in this world will blame their outer circumstances, you know, for the situation they're in or whatever it is. It could be anything. And I did that too for most of my life. And I don't know where I heard it or where I learned it, Lee, but when I learned that I create my life and I'm responsible for what happens in my life, I think at first I resisted it too, but I just want to say, like, it is such a life-changing moment. I'm so happy you had that moment because it's so empowering to know that you're the one in control. And it doesn't feel like that sometimes, but it is, because even just in your own perception and your own attitude, those things are in your control. You know, if something happens in your life that you don't like, it's in your control to change that circumstance or change how you look at that circumstance, right? Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
I guess I
Yeah,
go, oh, go ahead.
Go next, Kim. That was a good lead in.
I might need your help, Juji, explaining this one. I really want the audience to get it. So, okay, so a while back, I took a self-development program called Landmark. We've talked about it a couple times on this show. We refer to it here and there. Shira, I know you did it. Lee, I know you did a different one, but very similar.
Similar.
Yeah. So there was something in this program that I learned that the facilitator talked me through, which was something called the ACT. Now, the ACT, I'm just going to explain it the best I can and have Juji chime in, but they explained it this way. So something, and I have the definition I'll read as well. Something happens when you're young, and it's the first time in your life when you fail. So in that moment, there's a demand. It's one sentence that you say to yourself. Let's say you're 3 years old and your dad throws you the ball and you don't catch it. That statement, that demand could be, I'm not good enough. It could be, I can't do it. Maybe you had an experience when you were young where maybe your mom slapped you across the face. And maybe your statement was, even though I know that may not be looked at as a failure, but it sort of does feel like that when you're little and your parental figure might hurt you in that way. So your statement could be, I don't trust you, like whatever it is. And it goes both ways. And it's something that like lives in your subconscious and you don't know it, and it bleeds out into the rest of your life. So let's just say the example with the young child who maybe got hit across the face and has this automatic, like, I don't trust you. She could live her life not even being aware that she doesn't have many friends. She doesn't have many partners. She's had issues with trust her whole life. She may not ever know where that started, where that came from, but there's this like statement that lives in her subconscious that's like, I don't trust you. And it doesn't just go one way, as in you're like you feeling it. It also goes the other way. So if she's like, I don't trust you, there's the other side, which is, she doesn't trust me, or I'm not trusted. So if it's, so mine is my ACT. Oh, actually, hold on. Before I say that, I'm going to just share the definition of what I found online so that it could be like super clear, because I know this is like such a unique thing. So ACT equals who you think you be. The ACT doesn't want to be found. If you get the ACT, you are going to be responsible. ACT is a context that you created, that you live in. ACT originated with people when you were young, when you experienced failure. ACT protects you from feeling the pain. ACT will run over and over again. It is a one-line script. You are not your ACT. Who you are is yourself. ACT is always a command that you scream to yourself. ACT is easy to find out. Play life full out and you will find it. It can be found in a moment of failure, not just when you're young, but like if you're having a moment where you could fail at something, that's when your ACT will like show up. So it's like you have to like look for it, like what comes up. So for me, actually, before I say that, Juji, do you want to say anything about that?
I feel like you explained that perfectly. Yes.
Good. Okay, good. I was worried about how I was going to explain that. So for me, my ACT, I traced it back to my moment of failure when I was like 5. And it was, I can't do it. Now, it's not like I can't physically do it. It's like so much is going on, and it's almost like I just can't do it. Like, it's like that, okay? So when I look at my whole life in this program, I examined my whole life. And I've always lived in overwhelm. And my anxiety, which has been a lot, that I've struggled with anxiety throughout my whole life, is I just can't do it, like literally. And when I look, like even as I'm older and I'm looking at my calendar always filled, I can't make time to go to the gym. I can't make time to go to dinner I'm just so busy. It's like, who's doing that? Me, right? So, but that anxiety is like, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. So in the program, they have you physically, I'm gonna just move for a second. They have you physically stand in a space. Susie loves this. They have you physically stand in this space and they have you replay all of these moments where your act is like taking over. And then they're like, okay, what's your life been like? Overwhelming. Okay, what haven't you not gotten out of life because you can't do it? I haven't gotten, peace, relief, more time for myself. I mean, I could go on and on. This woman who got slapped by her mom was literally like, I haven't had a relationship my whole life. I've never had a lover. I don't have any friends. She's like, I'm so lonely. Like, she was like hysterical crying. So they have you stand in your act, and then they have you just physically step out of your act. So you step next to this fake circle, and then you just look. Okay, so now that you're outside of the act, and then you're looking at the act, what has it prevented you from experiencing in your life and from getting in your life, right? And you're pointing out all those things, and now you're just sobbing because you're realizing how like your act has ruined your life. And then you're outside, and now the facilitator's pointing out what's over here where you can do it. What's over here where you can trust people, whatever the act is, there's so many. So I learned my act, and then I was like, that's definitely my act. I'm always overwhelmed. I'm always this, that. I'm always putting myself in positions where I can't do it, right? I'm in the shower. This is like the night after I learned this about myself. I'm in the shower. Now, just to preface it, this is when I was like full speed ahead in my business. I created a business. I was in over my head. I needed so much help. I had a calendar full. I was trying to work a part-time job to pay the bills. I mean, you name it. I was in overwhelm more than ever. And I learned this about myself. So I'm in the shower, and something hit me so hard across the head. I mean, like a brick fell on my head moment. Coconut. Boing. And literally, I just started sobbing because it was something that I realized how much my act was in control, that it did this to me. Me. So I was in such overwhelm, and about, 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior to this, learning about this act, a friend of mine called me and was like, or texted me. And she said, oh my gosh, I just want to tell you that, she's like, you know Sam, right? She's like, Sam, my son's girlfriend. She's like, you know her, right? And I go, yeah, I love Sam. She's great. She goes, I was telling her all about your business. She was so in love with the idea of it. She said that she will work for you for free, whatever you need. She'll give you like 20 hours a week. She wants to be a part of it in some way. She just wants to be a part of it. You don't even have to pay her. And do you know what my response was to her?
No, thank you.
It was like literally a whole explanation about how much time I don't have to walk someone through everything I needed them to do. I was like, it's Tracy Lee. I was like, I'm so overwhelmed. I said, I don't even have the time right now to like train. I said, thank you so much, but no, thank you.
So you said no to the help. Like, I have no time to get help to
Right.
free me up.
Yeah, and I'm in the shower, and I realized this was the big moment for me, because the business, as you guys know, the Love Group, was a speaking agency for young girls to help young girls love themselves and learn those tools, right? To be empowered in life. That is such a huge mission. And when I realized what I did, what my act made me do, that I had no awareness whatsoever, I was sobbing, because I didn't just like give into this act and turn this girl down. And I didn't just prevent myself from getting the help I needed. But in like looking at big picture, what really like boinked me in the head was I was denying love and this teaching of self-love to young girls all over the world. I was denying them of it by doing that. Like, if you look at the bigger picture and me not getting the help I needed to like carry through this mission, I was preventing myself from, and the world, denying them of this. I was like, like my whole world changed. My whole world.
Wow. Kim, that's
I have goosebumps right now because that coconut moment is always like something cracks open inside of you and it just like all spills out and you're like, what? Because your whole reality just changed. And I just want to point out that what I love about what we're talking about is that everybody, not everybody, but there's a lot of like perception that like personal growth and stuff like that is like really glamorous, and it really isn't. It is messy AF. I've seen so many good memes about this. It's amazing. But it's like, it's the ugly cry in the shower. It's the like fetal position in the corner. Like, what? I did this to myself. You know,
The
like,
rewards are priceless.
totally. So I actually want to, sorry, Shira, do you want to go next?
No, I'm actually saying, do you have a moment to share?
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what you said, Kim, because I feel like what Landmark really gave me through the program, just as like an overarching theme, is that you are not your thoughts. Like that was like an ice bucket on the head moment of like, oh, just because I thought this about myself doesn't make it true. That's nuts, right? But I feel like what Landmark did, and I feel like I've shared this with you already, is that it like paved the way for human design for me. And we have an episode where I sort of talk about the system as a whole, but like the mantra of human design is that your mind is not your authority, which is kind of the same thing as you aren't your thoughts, but that is the sort of like upgrade in that distinction that I really loved. Because if my mind is not my authority, then what is the authority? And this is where my like big profound moment came in, because when I had my first reading with my now teacher, Stephen, he said, your mind has been running the show your whole entire life. And it makes bad decision after bad decision for you. And it doesn't even apologize when it makes that bad decision. You're just like left picking up the pieces and it just moves on to the next decision. And I was like, okay, but then where are my decisions to come from if my mind isn't the authority? He said, your body is. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And he was like, your body knows exactly where it needs to be, what it wants to do, and where your energy is best served. But you've been giving away your energy your whole life. And are you satisfied? And I was like, no. I didn't even know to what degree I wasn't satisfied until I experienced the satisfaction of moving my energy towards what it was meant to do. And that profound reinforcement, because yes, that was a coconut on the head moment, but the reinforcement of that over the last few years has really brought this alignment that I never knew I could experience and feel like my energy was truly being used for the purpose that it was meant for, instead of holding on to all of these things that my mind told me I should, could, would do, normally not just to serve like the security of finances and things like that, but also to fit into the picture that other people had of me. Like if somebody said something that would spark something in my mind, and my mind would be like, yeah, that's a good idea, you should go do that. And then either I would volunteer my energy, or I would say yes to things that weren't serving me. And once I started following like where my body was being pulled towards, once I started like the mind doesn't quiet just because you're like getting this information. In fact, your mind gets louder. Your mind's like, what do you mean I'm not the authority? Like, I've been running your life this whole time. You're still alive, you know?
Right.
So then the mind gets louder and your energy gets sapped, and it's exhausting. It's like, it's so draining when you're moving your energy towards unsatisfying things. And then when you realize that when your energy moves towards things that are really satisfying, it's like you have a bottomless well of energy. Like you have nothing but energy for the things that light you up. And it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like anything other than this like wash of satisfaction and comfort and like wholeness within yourself. And if nobody had ever taught me that, I have no idea where I would be. This experience of seeing life through where energy flows is just the most profound, amazing thing that I've ever been told and experienced.
Incredible.
You're such an inspiration. Holy
Oh.
guacamole.
And this energy thing, I mean, it's wild, because I think if we didn't put our energy towards all of the things that make us feel good and joyful and powerful, we would probably be continuing to put our energy, because it still takes energy to suffer and to make ourselves miserable. It's the same amount of work that we're doing and same amount of effort, but the outcome is so different that we feel lighter and better and more peaceful and calm and, and liberated. It's liberating.
Yeah.
You would just die exhausted.
What?
You would just die exhausted.
Yes. And I feel like for most of us, I don't know, because when we have these discussions, it seems like for most people, I mean, we're conditioned to think a certain way, and we're conditioned to put out a certain energy, which makes our life. And that for most of us that are enlightened in some way in later in our life, it's like we're trying to decondition how we used to be and feel and think. And
Well, like Juji said, it's unsustainable. It's like living like that. It's something's gonna crash and burn, either your health or your mental capacity or your body.
So how incredible to think. And I know that this has been brought up before in our previous episodes about starting the children off young, learning and giving them the tools to think about this, to think about where they're putting their energy, to think about boundaries, to think about, all of these things that, I mean, they can avoid so much. We all can avoid so much suffering if we just had the tools and the education.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Lee, because the truth of it is that we want our children to struggle. We want them to have difficulty, because only then will they know how capable they are. Like, this is a lifelong journey. Like, it's not supposed to be easy, because then you don't get the lesson. I know what you're saying. There's always going to be pain and struggle, but some of the avoidable.
I don't think we want. I don't really think we don't want our children to suffer or struggle. I don't
suffer. I didn't say suffer, but we want them to. I really do believe, because when things are, it's like the journey is the discovery. Like that's where there's something really wonderful about having. Like we're talking about transformational moments, and they mostly come from when you're in the shitter, right? And then you all of a sudden have an awareness about something, which I will share mine in a second. But that's such an awesome feeling when you're like, oh, I've been thinking about this all wrong, or oh, I get it. I get it now. There's something so beautiful about that. And you can't really have that unless you're in a compromised, challenged place.
Well, and I think there will always be struggles in life. There will always be obstacles. There will always be things we run into that are uncomfortable. But if we can have the tools younger and younger, and just make those realizations sooner than later, because new things will come up. So,
100%,
I mean,
100%.
and from time to time, it's rare, but I do meet people in their 20s and 30s that seem way beyond their years, old souls that do have this sense, this knowledge. They kind
Yeah.
of realize and recognize that they can create their life.
Yeah, no,
And
it's true. No, it's true, because you are going to have a certain amount of pain and struggle and heartache, but you
Yeah.
don't have to like have way more than than a human being should deal with. And that really all starts here.
Yeah, everybody's going to have a journey. Everybody's going to be on their own journey. There'll always be ups
regardless,
and struggles. But imagine growing up and learning that your mind isn't your authority,
Yeah.
and to listen to your body more and being taught tools how to do that.
Absolutely.
Forget about it. Your journey is still going to be your journey. It's just going to be easier. And look, you may not, think of all the issues with kids: suicide, depression, eating disorder. I could go on.
Yep.
Like, it could relieve a lot of that.
Well, I'm going to share my, I call it the Tomahawk moment, because it feels like someone just threw a tomahawk like in between your eyes. So I've probably talked about this in previous episodes, but I have struggled a lot with my relationship with my mom, especially when I was a teenager, even into my 20s. And it got so bad that I really couldn't have a conversation with her and look her in the eye. Like, that's how bad it was. I had so much anger. And but I was very self-justified anger. And I remember talking to somebody, and we were just saying before, like, it could be a coconut, it could be a tomahawk moment. This was a tomahawk moment unlike any I've ever had. And it all came from a quote, because guess what? I'm the quote queen and we love quotes. So I'm talking to a friend of mine, and all of a sudden they were like, yeah, I came across this was like 30 years ago. Came across this quote, and she showed it to me and I read it. And the quote was, resentment is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. And I literally read the quote and it took my breath away. In one fell swoop, I had this, it was like an anvil was sitting on my shoulder, on my head, and it just went, it just like flew away when I read that, because I was like, oh my God, I am poisoning myself. Where is all this anger coming from? I don't look at myself and say I'm an angry person, but so much anger. And that was an absolutely transformative moment. I remember exactly where I was when I read it. I remember what I was wearing. Like, I just remember that moment. It's frozen in time for me. And I realized that for as compassionate a person I thought that I was, I really wasn't. And because I know my mom had a really hard life, and she had tremendous anger toward her mother. Hello, patterns repeating themselves. And so from that moment on, I started to just, relax a little bit more and talk to my mom with a little more compassion. And like, I'm getting a little emotional right now, because I remember so vividly not being able to look her in the eye. Like, that's how angry I was at her. And now we have like a good relationship, like, are there problems? Yeah, still, whatever, but I've changed. And I would not have done it if it had not been for that quote. So thank you, whoever wrote that quote.
That is an amazing quote.
yeah, I love it.
I feel like I heard that in Landmark too. Something along the same lines.
Very possible. Very
And
possible.
I love that you described the feeling of the weight lifting off of your shoulders, because I don't want to assume anything, but I feel like every one of our stories had some sort of relief attached to it that feels like a burden that's sort of like dissolved in a way. So thank you for sharing that. And I feel like this is a good place to wrap it up. We hope you enjoyed our conversation as much as we did. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and be sure to let us know if you have any topic requests or questions by commenting below. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye-bye.